It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
Joining us this week on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington, we've got an incredible guest, guys. In light of the Houston Astros Major League Baseball scandal, what better person to have on than Steve Petrillo, an inventor who has patents not only in the United States, but internationally throughout the world. And he is enhancing lives, and with this specific patent, changing the game of baseball. So, Steve, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you very much, Renee. Thank you so much for having me.
I am thrilled to have you here because we have all been watching the scandal unfold around the Astros and their sign stealing scandal. And so you have been working to shorten the game of baseball, as well as put something in place to help from this happening, to help to avoid sign stealing. So can you tell our listeners what it is that you've been doing? I know you have created patents before, but this specific one, tell us about what you've been working on.
Sure. Renee, the way I looked at it was, we know the game of baseball is being prolonged. The pace of play is completely interrupted too frequently. As well, the psyche of the pitcher, having to memorize which code it is, which sign it is that is the pitch being offered, and things of that nature. So I racked my brain and said, why do they keep trying to be more like tricky with their signs as opposed to go up a different path? And that be a covert communication mechanism or method, if you will, to get signs across that nobody can steal them, nobody can visually or audio, hear them. And therefore, I mean, this just simplifies it and just completely levels the playing field so that everybody is on the same page and has the right abilities and inability to steal or hack into such signs.
I like it. Now, take us through how you even got started developing this and the way you went about from it being just an idea. I mean, a lot of people have ideas, but you have not 1, 2, 3, but a handful of inventions and patents out there, and this being one of them. Take us through that process from an idea to putting it into place.
Sure. I don't sit someplace like people say, how do you end up coming up with these inventions and then patenting them? I don't sit in an office and do that. It's just when I come across and see a problem that people just keep going up the same path to try to solve without success, I start researching, and I read 17 books on patent law and infringement on patents so that I learned how to properly write patents in a secure way so that they can't be gone around, if you will, but in a way that they're strong enough and when executed, help whatever it is I'm trying to solve. So my son came to me and said, Dad, I mean, what's going on with this? They're calling it the biggest sports scandal in history. I said, I know, Robbie. I said, this is just prolonging. And, quite honestly, Renee, with the duration being just so long, like I mentioned, the pace of play, the ratings going way down. There's 4 million less seats in the 2019 season versus 17. So just in 2 years, I mean, the attendance is down, the viewing's down. The viewing for the World Series is lower rating than like week 1 or 2 football games. So that people are tuning out. So what I ended up doing was I came up with a covert, non-visual, non-audio solution, secure solution for communication, and not just between pitcher and catcher, but also I'm working with some of the MLB current players, coaches, etc., Closest to me right now is Dan Duquette, who, as a Boston guy, obviously I have an affinity for Dan. And Dan's helping me in infiltrating the MLB. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in the minors and the international leagues and NCAA this year, and try to find any nuances if there are. And then next year MLB is going to roll it out, and it's going to be for all the teams. It'll be somewhat mandated, if you will, across the board. And what they brought to my attention, Renee, is that this is not only used between the pitcher and the catcher, but they want the infielders to have whatever the transmission is. So it's a simple transmission, and it's always going to be consistent and never has to change because nobody can see it or pick up on it. And it's very simple, time consuming, no thought involved. And now the infielders, they want to have receivers as well, so that the infielders will know which pitch their pitcher will be throwing, i.e. if it's a sinker, the propensity for a ground ball is greater, so they could, play in a little bit more. And also about the base coaches. The base coaches can use this system to tell the base runners to go, instead of the, hands across the chest and the da-da-da-da-da, and it's the fourth one and all that stuff. Take the thinking and focus on the play, especially the pitchers. Let the pitchers now focus on the research they've done on the batters and not have to worry about if they can see the nail polish correctly on the catcher's fingers as he's giving signals. And it's fantastic. And the range of such technology of communication can even reach the bullpen pitchers, as Dan was bringing to my attention today. He said, Steve, sometimes the bullpen pitchers want to know what types of pitches are being thrown and the outcome of them.
I love it. I love it. So you created a band, a vibrating signal band that is the plan.
Yeah, it's a whole method and apparatus. So it consists of technologies that exist but have never been combined nor independently used at all in the sports arena. So I just went researching and found what I thought would be the completely non-invasive to the players, right, or even the coach. It's very covert, can never be hacked, a very, very secure system of communications. Because keep in mind, Renee, both teams are going to have this new technology, if you will, this new system, if you will. So therefore, it's imperative that they cannot be getting the interference of the other one, et cetera. So it's very secure. I'm working with some high-end engineering firms, and it's really a whole method, and it actually, accomplishes the main goals that we spoke about earlier in this discussion. But more importantly, even it starts to enhance the game and allows, communications to multiple players, if you will, offensively and defensively. So It's kind of a whole kit and caboodle, but just a very simple apparatus that we're using.
And you know what? As you're talking, well, first of all, as you're talking, now I'm stuck on your Boston accent because I knew it was a Boston accent, but then when you mentioned it, I was like, "Yep, yes." So I was stuck on that too. But in terms of having,
don't be a hater, Renee. Don't be a hater.
I love it. I try so hard to have a big Boston accent, but I'm not great at it at all. But
and I'm trying to conceal it.
Side. Yeah, right. Back to the communication side. That's something that if you look in sports, like in football, the quarterback has the band on their arm that allows them to do play calling. There's constant communication from the booth to the coaches to the quarterback and the players in the field to quickly, figure out whatever the offense is going to do. In basketball, it could be a hand signal, but that's a lot harder to. I mean, yes, we have actually seen cases of that actually also being stolen, and people's playbooks being stolen in basketball and football. So it's something that as you're talking through this, I'm thinking about how it translates across all sports, soccer, basketball, baseball, football. That communication piece that you're mentioning is huge. You need to be able to quickly communicate.
It is.
And not every sport has, like I think about as a soccer player, we didn't have timeouts. So we had to quickly be communicating, what set pieces you're going to do or whatever it is that you're going to do or formation changes on the fly. And there is that missing piece in baseball because as you talk about, you see a lot of times the catcher and the pitcher are walking to the pitcher's mound to talk, and it just prolongs the game and slows down the flow of the game. So I love there's a
Right.
need for that.
And you know what, Renee, you're absolutely right. I mean, I've been, you know, asked regarding basketball, so that if it's an inbound, they don't have to, it's not obvious who is the intended person
Right.
for the inbound. Okay. Now, also a very key point that you brought up, which is wonderful, is the mound visits. Now, there's nothing worse and slows down the game than mound visits, just for the catcher and pitcher to get on the same page. And in 2017, in that World Series, first of all, there were 25 home runs hit, which just blows away the record. And there were 49 passed balls. And that's because clearly the catcher and the pitcher weren't on the same page. So now what they did was, starting this year, they implemented only a maximum of 5 mound visits, and that could be player to pitcher, coach to pitcher, what have you. And now those are so precious and at a premium that those can solely be used to calm the pitcher down, as well as talk strategy if there's men on bases and, if there's going to be a squeeze play and things like that. So it's even more imperative now to minimize those mound visits, keep the communication where it is exceptionally effective. There's no doubt of, hey, did I see, was it the 4th sign, the 5th sign? And let the pitcher just stay focused. I compare it to football. Now, and we'll talk about that communication. I mean, this can be used there. What do? Is it there? They are hiding behind like the thing with the microphone, the coach calling the plays in.
Right.
The quarterback has the headset in his helmet, and he's trying to. So you have kind of unique communication there, where this is going to expound into that. But when you have an offense in football and they're moving, they're rolling, the quarterback has a hot hand, just like a pitcher will have a hot hand. There's nothing worse than an interruption to that offense. When you see a defensive player either hurt or playing hurt, so that it slows down the flow of the offense, you always see that look of dismay on the quarterback's face, as well as the pitcher. Every time the catcher comes out, he's like, really? Takes him out of the zone. And you're an athlete, you're a tremendous athlete. You can relate to this. When you're in that flow and you've got things going, there's nothing worse than interruption, because it's hard to kind of reset yourself and get right back where you were at.
Yeah, that is so, and we talk about it. It benefits on both sides, the players, or all sides, players, coaches, and fans, because you want to the momentum is something that you want to continue to build off of, and you want to see, as you talk about the hot hand for a pitcher or a quarterback or a shooter, whatever it may be, whatever sport we're talking about, you want to be able to continue to ride that momentum out instead of having to stop, call a play, regroup, and go back again, and that's
right. Try to find that groove again, right?
Exactly.
It's nearly impossible to get that same groove. And you bring up a great point, Renee. What's happening now is the duration of the game, obviously the pace of play. So if you're a fan, you're watching, and it's like, really? So people are getting up more. I mean, I can't last past 7 innings. The old days, so it is consistently, and as that time is increasing, the duration of a game is increasing, the fan base is decreasing.
Yeah.
And, no longer do you take your children to a game, because who can sit through over 3-hour games? No, young kids, what have you. I can't as an adult. So this hopefully we know this will impact the game on so many different levels. Where the game is exciting, the excitement stays. It doesn't get, you don't get that down time. It just keeps flowing. That pace of play goes, the momentum is maintained, and the excitement, most importantly, to the viewer at home or especially in the stadium, keep the crowd going.
I love it. And that's what sports are all about. It's on all for the viewer or the player or the coach. It's just really that exciting, that adrenaline, the momentum, the excitement, the ups and downs, but you want to minimize anything that's interrupting that. So you talked about, the people that you've been collaborating with and working with, the engineers and all the different hands involved and masterminds involved to make this all possible. I know you've also been doing a lot of appearances and partnerships and just trying to make this continue to move forward in your process. So what's really next for you? I know there's a lot of steps as you talk about getting into the minor leagues and in college baseball. What's really the next step that we can expect to look out for?
What you folks can look out for is, like I said, I'm working with Dan Duquette, as well as Bob Tewksbury, who is a psychological pitching coach for the Cubs. So I picked Bob's brain because clearly, as an experienced player, and now that all teams have psychological coaches for pitchers, clearly, to keep them focused. So what I plan on doing next is heading out to Arizona about the third week in March, about 12 teams that conduct spring training there, and meeting with them as well. Dan Duquette and I think that the best path is go to MLB. MLB will roll it down through the minor leagues as well as the collegiate levels we're going to reach out to. And what we want to do is utilize this year now for the individuals to get used to it, acclimated to it. There's not a learning curve to it, but it's just something new. And it's a little late to implement it across the board in MLB. So we're going to, what you folks are going to see is you're going to see it in the collegiate level. You're going to see it in all the minor leagues. And this is going to give proof of concept, work out any nuances. And as Took said, he said, Steve, the great thing is, you get some of the old time baseball players that just hate change. But by starting with the youngers, as they go to the MLB, they're already used to this type of communication system.
Exactly.
So it's perfect. So that's kind of our deployment. I mean, there's just so many, different arenas with my other patents. And this has been just such a joy dealing with the people. The players are wonderful. It's so warmly embraced. It's a long time coming. But we need to kind of take that black eye that baseball's suffering right now and just turn it around and make it America's pastime once again.
Yeah, that's always been my biggest issue with baseball is how long, from one inning to the next, you look up and it's the bottom of the fourth inning and you're like, goodness, I've been watching for so long.
It's not even halfway done.
Not even halfway done yet. My gosh. And I've covered baseball.
And I hope it's not a tie.
Games.
We don't want extra innings.
Yes,
exactly.
I have covered baseball and softball games as a reporter doing whether color comment, whatever it is. And I'm like, I have no idea what time I'm going to be done. I just know what time I'm starting and I'll see you tomorrow.
Right, exactly. Do not make plans for the tail end because you can never predict that, and it's just anything that lasts that long. And especially, again, we've taken the excitement and we just keep kind of interrupting the excitement. So it's not like the excitement is at this high level for that longer period of time. It's a drop off and it just seems to drag longer and longer. I mean, I'll leave a game at 7 in the 7th inning, come home and be able to catch the full 9th inning.
That's sadly so true.
Yeah, it is. It really is. So it's, and I want to be able to take my grandkids to games and not have them be climbing over into the back row because it's lasting forever,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So Steve, where can our listeners follow along with your progress and to continue to follow as we see the implementation of your patent in the collegiate level, minor league level, and then one day Major League Baseball?
Sure, you can find me. I mean, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. I'm obviously forming another company, probably called it'll be Sports Solutions. We're looking at right now for an LLC. But the best way to get me is either email Petrillo, Petrillo .savinglivesmatter@gmail.com. I know it's a long one. Or on LinkedIn, Steve Petrillo, and as well Twitter at Steve Petrillo 87.
I love
and you will see all my updates and where we're in, and I have TV appearances and interviews and all this sorts of stuff that that's not me. I like to kind of hide behind the scenes, but I'll do whatever it takes to to really maximize the potential of this as soon as possible. So I have some real good folks around me.
Well, in light of one of the biggest baseball scandals with the Astros sign stealing scandal, what better time to come out and change the game? So, Steve Petrillo, I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more of your name and seeing your work come to light. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited to be able to say, "Hey, I know that guy." Or when I see your bands be implemented, I'm looking forward to being able to say, "I know the guy that created that. I know the mastermind behind that."
Yeah, and it's going to go into other arenas too, like we talked about other sports. So
Yes,
you know,
I love it.
But,
I love it. Why not?
But I'm that guy that had. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, folks. So to all your listeners, we will bring baseball, softball, other sports. We will take this black eye away, and baseball will be fun again, as well as softball, and it'll be secure. No more cheating. No more of having to turn sports radio on and hear about this scandal any longer. So I really, truly appreciate the opportunity to have this interview, Renee. It means a lot to me, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington. Steve Petrillo, everyone, a name and a mastermind that you do not want to forget. So again, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Renee. Everybody take care and be safe.